Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WYTV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey friends, take just a moment and imagine how you'd feel living the life you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. It's what I call living a life of significance. And I can tell you it's a very happy life. And so can my friend, Larry Carnes. He's my neighbor and my guest star, and he's here today to inspire you to live the inspired life you were meant to live. Hey, Larry, I'm so happy to welcome you to the Something Significant show.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be on.
Wonderful. Just take a minute and tell our audience what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world.
Okay. Yes, I'm officially retired now after working 42 or 3 years for industry. And so I've been retired since 2008. So 13 years, more than 13 years in my retirement now. And so what I'm doing to hopefully make a significance in people's lives is spending my time creating a legacy. That's the way I think of it. I'm spending my time to create an environment in our home here on Lake Norman where my family and my friends would like to come, where they would find an opportunity to rest, relax, enjoy the surroundings, and they'd find a safe place for people who are dealing with trials and tribulations in their life. I believe over the years, I've had some training on listening, both through the church that I've attended and through industry where I worked in some management positions. And people nowadays don't have a good, safe place just to come talk about their issues. And we're trying to create that here in our home now, and as my legacy, as my life is winding down.
That's really great. Larry, let's let our audience out there get to know you a little bit deeper through the mathematical equation of our happy formula. It's simple, but it's powerful. Capacity plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with capacity. And I noticed when you and I first met, I noticed an energy and an enthusiasm coming from you that wouldn't have made me think you were 13 years in retirement, because I think you're every day working on building your personal capacity, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, financial, emotional. So what are the things that you do on a regular basis to create the capacity you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over to give to others?
Well, I've had a very blessed life. I'm now 73, so when you talk about years of being in retirement, and I've had a life where I've done a lot of physical fitness activities, and primarily running was what I was doing in my younger days. My age now has affected my knees, so I don't run so much anymore. But I do make sure that I get all my steps in. I'm an avid walker, and then I'm an avid, I call it piddling. I'm working on things around the house and the yard. Our current home is 1.25 acres, and there's always something that needs to be done on this property, which keeps me pretty busy. And I still have a physical fitness routine. Early in the morning, I'll get up and do some stretches and maybe lift some weights, do some sit-ups, do some push-ups, but definitely trying to stay physically fit so that I can continue to develop this property here for my family and friends.
I know I get my 10,000 or more steps without leaving the property most days, so I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the difference between earthly energy, physical, financial, mental, and spiritual energy. Earthly energy being finite. When you expend it, you go out and work in the yard, you get tired, you have to rest, versus spiritual energy, which is infinite. And I know you have a spiritual practice. And so talk about how, especially you're 73 years old, I know that my earthly energy runs out easier than it used to but the spiritual energy doesn't. So talk
Yeah.
about the difference between earthly and spiritual energy in your life, your experience.
The earthly energy does run a little lower than it used to. I used to have a routine where I got up about 4:30 in the morning and started all that running and working, and then did my job, and then in the evenings I did volunteer work with the church and things with the children. Don't get up quite that early anymore. Don't quite have that energy. But the spiritual energy is something that comes when you have a relationship with your God. I find, as Apostle Paul said, I've learned to be content in all situations. And the more you are content in whatever the trial and tribulation that you're dealing with, the more that trial and tribulation doesn't look like it's such a big issue.
Right.
And I know that through my years of pursuing the gospel and reading what I've read in the Bible, that we can endure all things, and that God equips us for our calling. He doesn't necessarily call the equipped people. And if you look at a lot of the heroes that are in the Bible, many of them, like Moses, Moses could hardly speak apparently, and yet he sent him to Egypt. So God, if you're pursuing your calling that God has put before you, God provides you an internal energy that I think people have a hard time tapping into.
Yeah, I think well, we're going to get to that. That's coming up. Thank you for that. Before moving on to purpose, let's discuss my very favorite capacity building concept called Kaizen. It's the Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And it means there's always something at any age, there's always something you can do better tomorrow than you did today. And I love it, Larry, because it always keeps me moving forward in some way every single day. So Larry, how do you Kaizen your personal capacity to continuously become more so you can continuously give more?
I think one of the important things in that element of growth, and you're always growing no matter what age you are. Unfortunately, some of it is in weight, but most of the growth that you'd like to get is in your mental attitude. And when I was working, I had the philosophy that when I worked with people, that you need to put yourself in a place where you're continuously learning. And what I do now is I do put myself in a continuous learning process. I joined the men's Bible study here, and I've also got involved in some of the social activities with a golf club and with the men's group over at church. And it's fascinating the people you talk to, and you hear what they did for their living. And if you can listen well enough, you'll find out that many people have got something to teach you and tell you about things I didn't even know about. For example, yesterday I had lunch with a senior group at church, and the guy sitting next to me was a personal friend of Hewlett and Packard, David Packard.
Okay.
And he had worked with David Packard on David Packard's ranches. And I didn't know David Packard even had any ranches, but it was just fascinating to hear what this guy had done with somebody that I personally know through work anyway, his technical expertise. But I didn't know anything about his social expertise. So putting yourself in a place where you're always learning will do a tremendous amount to improve your mental capability and keep you focused on current things.
Yeah, and tell the story, if you remember, that you told me on my patio that you were trying to get help because your sprinkler system wasn't working properly. And the trades are so busy these days, you couldn't get anybody to come out and call on you. And you reminded yourself, well, hell, I'm an engineer. And so talk about that story a little bit and what you learned about something you didn't intend to know anything about.
Yeah, and YouTube is a fantastic learning tool. If there's any issue that you're trying to deal with, and the one Matt's referring to here is my irrigation system that I've got here on this 1.25 acre property. We had just bought it, and I'd never owned an irrigation system before, but my training is mechanical engineering. So 50 years ago, I had some fluids and mechanics technology behind me. But we bought the place, and one of the zones wasn't working right. So I got on the phone. I was just going to call somebody, come over and repair the thing. I actually ended up calling 3 different companies, and not a one of them even returned my phone call.
Mhm.
So here I am, I'm saying, okay, you're an engineer. You used to know how all this stuff worked. What can you do to fix this problem? So I did. I started reading. I watched a few YouTubes about how to repair it. And lo and behold, I'm pretty good on irrigation systems today. I've replaced sprinkler heads. I've replaced controllers. I've rewired solenoid valves in the system. And just last month, I put a new irrigation pump in. My pump went out. I'd never done that before. So you can put yourself in a place of continuous learning. And I find that fun. And I was able to do it with my grandson, which
Yeah.
again, talk about creating a legacy. My grandson's studying mechanical engineering also, and he's just a sophomore, and he hadn't had much in the way yet of fluids and dynamics and those kinds of things, but he was fascinated to see how you could work with your hands, you could visualize, and you could learn something that wasn't explicit in a technical textbook. So it's a great opportunity.
And there is, there's a reward that you get from working with your hands and getting that project done yourself. That's completely different than if you had just written a check for it.
Yes, I definitely would agree. It helps build your self-esteem, I guess. If you have low self-esteem, you find yourself accomplishing some tasks, and lo and behold, you'll feel a lot better about those tasks. And especially if you can do them with somebody else, and you feel like you're encouraging and teaching others as you go along.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, let's dive into the second element of the happy formula. And I've observed that major life transformations, sadly, and discovery of purpose, sadly, often come from devastation, addictions, disease, death, disaster. Some big crisis strips a life to its core. However, in my second book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover my purpose using inspiration. So how about you, Larry? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the purpose you were meant to live and this legacy that you're intent on building? Was there a moment in time?
Well, there's probably a couple anyway. The biggest one I would say is a class that I actually took through a church. It was called Focus Living. And that class led you through a process where you look at.
How long ago was that?
Oh, gee. That had to be about 1996, 97.
Okay, a long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah. But it led you through a process where you looked at the timeline of your life. And on that timeline, you wrote down things, good and bad, events, people, situations, and it led you to look at those and analyze them from the standpoint of thinking about it as God is shaping you for something. Think of us like sandpaper, I guess. So you rub across some things and you're going to change. And this course was an excellent course to lead you down that path of things that have happened to you. And then it blended in with it, looking at your roles in life. You know, you're a father, you're a brother, you're a son, you're a friend, whatever role you want to put into your life. And then it spent some time on time management, saying, okay, if these are your roles, what are you doing in these roles, and how much time are you spending on these roles? And through the sequence of steps and working with people, you come out of this whole process being asked to write down your personal purpose, your personal mission statement. And I found that whole process very fascinating. I did also spend a lot of time reading, even before I took that course, things written by people like Stephen Covey on your own life, about how to improve your life. And, you know, just as you've done, Matt, in trying to put together books about getting yourself situated in a place where you feel like you're achieving something and you're dedicating something with purpose to help and assist others. I had the fortunate that under that continuous learning process, I I read a lot of those kind of self-help books.
Yeah. So it sounds like mostly through inspiration. You said there were two or three. You mentioned one. Was there another one you wanted to share?
Well, the Stephen Covey book, definitely 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That was one that sticks in the back of my mind as definitely caused me to be inspired and to think of some situations that I'm dealing with. And definitely, I would have to throw in there, that's probably an old cliche, but the Bible itself. When you look at the lives of the apostles and the people that were living and how God's word had changed them, there's some inspirational things in there.
Agreed. And so one more question on this. So you've been shaping your life and building, discovering your purpose through inspiration. The next question then, what happens with devastation is you get stripped so raw when you have an idea that you're going to go do this thing. You have to do it because you're saving your child's life, or because you're going to walk through fire, or you're going to die. You're in that desperate situation. And that's when you go through the self-doubt that says, well, I can't accomplish this. You don't accept it. So in your case, when you have new thoughts about, well, I have to change my life from A to B, how did you overcome what I call the gravity that holds your life in place, the status quo, that I don't have time to change, I don't have the time or resources to create an oasis for my family. How did you get beyond the inertia to turn your inspiration into action? Because that's where people get stuck.
Yeah, I think the story about the irrigation system has a little bit of that in it. When I've run into things in life that I can't handle, it's just not there. At some point in time, I've been very blessed. At some point in time, if I come to the realization that if I want to get this accomplished, I really do need to start moving forward. And a lot of prayer helps, definitely. And then you make your move to find friends, associates, find information. You start that search process. How do I work with this issue? I can give you an example on that. One of the programs I was involved in was called Stephen Ministry. And part of what Stephen Ministry is about is walking with people in life situations. And one of the people that I had to work with was a drug addict and an alcoholic. And through a lot of prayer and listening, I really didn't know what to do, how to do it, what to go about here. The Stephen Ministry program trains you a little bit on asking open-ended type questions and leads you through a process of getting the individuals to talk about their situation and to help them ponder choices that they can make. So I think in my own personal life, because I've had some of that kind of training, I recognize and can apply it on myself, if I will. You definitely have to look at the issues you're dealing with. You have to find people you trust to talk to about those issues. And then you got to evaluate your choices, your alternatives. Usually do nothing is actually a choice, but in a lot of situations, do nothing is not a very good choice.
Right.
But you definitely need to look at that choice and discuss it and work around alternatives, people you trust, brothers in faith, technical people, people that are financially based. If you're dealing with a financial issue, you still got to find somebody you trust though through all that.
Yeah.
That's part of the legacy that I hope to leave here. I got a relatively broad background, but I'm hoping this environment we create here is a trustworthy place. And if I personally don't have the expertise or the insight to help people, I think I can help them look for that insight or help.
Yeah, very good. Good stuff, Larry. Let's take a quick commercial break so I can tell our audience about a surefire and guaranteed way to keep every single one of their New Year's resolutions in 2022 and for every year to follow. Mr. Happy Living here. I love good things made for good people. That's why I love Happy Living's online e-course. It's an 8-week-long deep dive into you and the inspired life you want to live. The life you were put here on this earth to live. The one that you and only you can live. 8 weeks of lectures and ideas and topics and supporting materials and powerful self-improvement tools. All designed for you. All designed to help you create the tools and the power and the confidence you need to discover your purpose and to discover the life you were meant to live and to feel incredibly inspired and motivated to decide you will live your life to its fullest. It's all designed to help you create the unique and distinct philosophy of you and your inspired life. Go to happyliving.com, select our e-course, and save $100 with promo code WYTV7. And for every enrollment, I'll donate another $100 to WYTV7. For $300 and about 30 hours, I promise you'll never, ever be the same again. And we're back. And this is the Something Significant show, and I'm Matt Gersper. Hey friends, we designed our e-course specifically to help you create the tools you need to make the right resolutions for you, and then to bring them into your life to stay. And I'll personally guarantee it too. If you'll give us your complete attention for about 4 hours a week for the next 8 weeks, then I'll guarantee that you can bring any resolution you want to life in your life and keep it there as long as it serves you. And if we don't live up to my promise, you'll get all your money back, 100% guaranteed. That's my promise to you. But now let's get back to my special guest star, Larry Carnes. Hey, Larry, I love this article called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. I found it on lifescience.com, and it says, the act of giving itself can be a gateway to discovering your reason for being on this planet. It concludes that compelling scientific data supports the notion that giving of one's time and talents and treasures is a powerful pathway to discovering purpose, transcending difficulties, and finding fulfillment and meaning to life. So I updated our formula. Capacity plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. What do you think, Larry, from your life experience? Have you found that giving your time and talents and treasures has been a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose and transcending difficulties that you've faced and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Definitely. Even scripture supports that where your heart's at's where your treasure is going to be. So your giving actually identifies what you value, what you love, and where you're at. And so I make a healthy donation, more than the 10% that the Bible says is kind of in the Old Testament, kind of a minimum in financial contributions to the ongoing church. The giving of your time is probably the most precious commodity any of us ever have. And that is actually limited. And it's pretty hard to go out and get more of it. You know, it's not like money or any other materialistic thing. You usually can go back to work if you need to make more money. In my case, retired, I can go get a part-time job. But I can't do a whole lot to add to my time on this earth other than staying in good physical shape. But God's already predetermined when my time's going to be. And so whenever it is, it is. And so I don't worry a whole lot about time other than making sure I'm using it, because it's such a precious commodity in the way that God intended for me, and it helps me with my purpose and and the legacy I want to leave for my family and friends. Talents, I donate my time using whatever talents I have, either to family, friends, or volunteer opportunities with the church or social activity. Sometimes it's debatable whether I have any talents, but I just became secretary of our homeowners association, Matt.
I'm not sure if that's, should I say congratulations or I'm sorry?
Yeah, but there was no other nominations. And that's true in most volunteer type positions. You don't have a lot of people lining up to do those kinds of things.
Right.
But yet I think I can add some value. I can meet some more interesting people. And I think it's using my time and my talent and my treasures a way that would honor God. And so I go forward with it.
I think another thing that's in short supply these days that anybody can give is attention.
Yep.
Right. And that can make a big difference. So it's not, when we think about giving, the first thing everybody goes to is money. And well, I don't have a lot of money, so I have nothing to give, but it's really not true. We all have excess something. And if I have no job and I'm not, maybe because I have no job, I have more time. So, I think you can always look for something to give. And the science says, if you give, it returns it to you. And I agree 100%. It makes you feel good. And I love that feeling. It's from the fourth element of significance, doing work, doing things that create value for others. And I know from my own experience that the magic of life comes not from getting more, but it's from giving more. But there's more to it than that. It's not just the giving that's magical, Larry. What I've been exploring and learning is that it's when you're living from giving in your purpose. That's where you find the real magic. So tell us, Larry, how does it make you feel when you're giving to others through the work you were put on this planet to do, through your current legacy project of building your oasis on the lake house, and someone notices and compliments you by asking, why are you always so happy? Or when you see others using information or advice or ideas that you've shared with them, or when you hear people say, I wonder how Larry would respond to this situation. How does all that make you feel?
Well, it's overwhelming with joy. And I've been blessed enough that I've had that happen a few times. I can give you an instance. I was at work, just taking over an engineering group, and the morale in the group was extremely low. And I used to come into the office, big smile on my face, and sometimes even whistling as I went up and down the aisles. After about a month, one of the other supervisors called me into his office. He says, how come you're so happy around here?
Yeah.
He says, this is work. I said, well, I can tell you that the actual situation is not what makes my joy.
Yeah.
What makes my joy and my happiness is following the purpose that God has given me. And one of the purposes I believe he gave me was to help other people be successful. So I'm here as a supervisor of a group of people, and I'm helping them become very successful. And out of that, two things happened. One, he invited me to come talk to his group at church.
Yeah.
And the other thing that happened is you could see within about 6 months in my group, the whole environment had changed. People were upbeat, they were positive, they were being successful. I had a couple of guys even go back and get advanced degrees that hadn't finished their college education. And I feel like I really contributed to their life and their success.
Awesome. It gives me goosebumps. And here's the thing, when you're impacting others, and it can be positively or negatively, we're all impacting other people by our presence, by our spirit, by our actions. And occasionally somebody will say something. More often than not, they won't. So if you have one person saying, why are you so happy? There's a whole bunch of people that are wondering, why is he so happy? And I think people tend to tell you the negative things easier than the positive things. A lot of the positive ones gets overlooked. So, and that's exciting. So purpose and giving, finding your purpose and giving in life makes this great big happy circle. Giving your time and your talents and treasures is a powerful pathway to discovering purpose, and giving from living in your purpose brings profound joy to your life. So giving leads to purpose, and giving from purpose leads to joy. So Larry, to more properly reflect the exponential power of the happy formula, I've got to tweak it just a bit more.
Okay.
Capacity times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, I definitely see that relationship. Hadn't seen it as a math equation before, but I definitely can look at those issues and say I feel they've helped me achieve satisfaction in my life and joy and excitement about getting up the next day, things I got to do.
Yeah.
No,
We talked about that. That's a real good sign that you're on the right path, is when you wake up, you're thinking about what you get to do or what you have to do or what you're going to work on that day, and you're excited about it.
Yeah.
And that can happen when you're fully in your career, or you're fully in your retirement, or on vacation, or every single day. Correct?
Correct. It sure can. And another example, for example, my two son-in-laws, they both have told their wives at times, I wonder how Larry would handle this situation.
Mhm.
So again, in the family, when you think about leaving a legacy, everything you do and say is leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
It is going to have an impact on somebody. And if you're saying negative things, running them down, you're going to ruin that person's day. And you can always find something positive, I think, to think about and to express to individuals.
That's interesting. So that makes me think about legacy is just how you're influencing people once you're gone, right? You're always influencing them, but when you're gone from this earth, then there's still an influence. And if I've been a drunken father that beats my wife and kicks the dog, and the kids are afraid to be in my house, and I finally die, I'm leaving a legacy, and it's not going to be a very nice one.
Yep.
And the flip side is, if I'm really doing good stuff in life and lifting people up, and then I'm gone, that's all that still remains. And so it's a beautiful thing.
And it's scripture based. Again, the impact that you have goes through the generations.
Yeah.
That example where they throw a rock into a pond and the ripples go out. Well, as time goes on, those ripples get pretty small, but they're going on for infamy.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. I'll read a few of my favorite quotes, and then you respond telling us what it means to you. Give us the first thing that comes to your mind, Larry, because it is called a lightning round. So here we go. From Lao Tzu: to the giver comes the fullness of life, to the taker, just an empty hand.
Well, I would absolutely agree with that. If you want true joy, you want fullness, you got to be the giver. You've got to receive. You actually receive something back in that whole process. You receive personal internal joy by seeing somebody benefit from your actions or whatever you've just done.
Yeah, you got to read, folks. You got to read that article, the magic and the power of giving. We'll put it in the show links. But there is a story in there that will just it'll teach you this message about the joy that you get back from giving in a way that you will not believe. It's an amazing story. Okay, second quote from St. John of the Cross: you might quiet the whole world for a second if you pray. And if you really love, our guns will wilt.
Our days will wilt.
Our guns will wilt.
Oh, our guns.
Might quiet the whole world for a second if you pray. And if you really love, our guns will wilt.
Yeah, well, Praying puts people's hearts in the right place, takes away that violence. You have no need for guns if you're focusing in on the love that God has created us to be.
Oh, we can only imagine. From Jack London, you can't wait for inspiration. You have to go after it with a club.
Well, I guess that means take an initiative, and that's my continuous learning effort. I guess at some point in time, you must take initiative, and with a club or not, but you definitely you got to take it, and you got to move forward. Otherwise, you're stuck.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah. I think that's the big trick to it. It's easy to get inspired and decide something to be good to do, but it's taking that next step. It's taking the initiative, and then you're gonna create something in your life. It might not be exactly what you were after, but you're gonna create change, and that's usually a good thing. From Walt Whitman, to me, he says, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Every cubic inch of space is a miracle.
Well, I guess first thing comes to my mind is our pure existence is a miracle. Science is still debating how we came about, but whether they think it's intelligent design or the Big Bang theory, it is a miracle, however it took place. And so I personally believe in the intelligent design, but some people may not. And if God used evolution or some type of a major force to create that intelligent design, he did. But yeah, it's a miracle. The life itself is a very miracle.
Final one from Goff. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Well, if you've got a dream, if you don't take a step towards it, you've never got a chance. To me, it's like golf. If you're putting a golf ball and you hit the ball short of the hole, it never has a chance. If you hit it hard enough that it goes to the hole or past the hole, at least you had a chance. So if you don't take that step forward, you never have a chance to even achieve that goal. I do believe, though, that many people will modify their goal as they learn more, as they take those steps to the goal.
Yeah.
And I know our property here on Lake Norman's an example of that. At one point in time, we weren't going to buy something right on the lake, but we kept moving and kept moving, kept evaluating, and finally said, this will really meet our purpose.
Yeah, very good. Okay, now folks, it's your turn to play along with us. If you can hear my voice and you are inspired by today's show at Larry Carnes, please share some love with our incredible broadcast team by giving what you can to WYTV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. They do good works with your kindness. And Larry, I just love your zeal for life and the enthusiasm you bring to each day to live your life to its fullest. And I admire your focus and dedication to creating a non-judgmental, safe place for family and friends to celebrate love and life, and to discuss and explore and provide support through their trials and tribulations of life too. I really love that. And I'm super happy that you've shared your wisdom and grace on our show today. Would you please take a minute and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience?
Well, I'm very pleased to be here, and I hope my story is of some inspiration to you. And I pray that God will guide you towards your purpose. And if you can move in that direction, you're going to be a really happy person.
Very good. Thank you, Larry. I also want to thank WYTV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guests like Larry and reaching responsive folks just like you, ready to create your own extraordinary lives. A special thank you to our sponsors, The Philosophy of You and Your Inspired Life and Happy Living. Remember, folks, I'll donate $100 for each and every enrollment using promo code WYTV7. So tell all your friends too. Go to happyliving.com, select eCourse, and enroll together as a group. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. If you have questions or comments, or you're dealing with life's challenges and you wonder, how would Larry respond? Please email me your request and your contact information directly to matt@happyliving.com, and I'll forward it on to Larry. And from me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy. And speaking of happy, please go to happyliving.com right now and take our happy quiz. Because when you measure your happy, you'll focus your attention on it, and focusing attention on it will inspire change and learning and improvement to come into your life. And speaking of life improvement, I hope Larry has got you motivated and feeling confident and bold too, ready to improve your life, ready to bring to life your unique and distinct reason for being on this planet, because that's how you'll make your mark of significance on the world. And the world is ready to hear from you. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome, and this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.